Mm, Hello, everybody. Today I want to speak about um not such well-known word that could be interesting and very resourceful for expressive art therapists, artists, for people who are interested in art and interested in psychology and interested in um emotions and feelings and about humanity in common. And I discovered the word Kansei and realized that if we will um, to look deeper on this word, we will be using this word. It could open us uh, such gates to our consciousness and unconsciousness that could bring new ideas to our life, to our art, to our way as art therapists and facilitators. Because knowing uh, new words that express uh, well-known emotions and feelings or meanings for us, um, but have new word that have another sounds that have another that coming from another cultures is interesting because it could really be a new start for something that we could discover. And I will speak about Kansei and will give my ideas about how what is Kansei in art therapy, in expressive arts, and in the work of expressive arts facilitators. What is Kansei and why we need Kansei, or how we are using Kansei, because we using all Kansei and we living with Kansei, but we don't know about this word, but the things and processes that this word describes we have in our life. So let's move. I will speak about it today, and I hope it will be interesting and useful. Um, First, I would like to start with a little bit explanation about Kansei, and then I will come to about how this word was created. This word is coming from Japanese culture, from Meiji era, and I will speak about it. And but this word started using in um, 20th century, uh, using as using on the field of philosophy, aesthetic researches, art, and in Japanese society for describing some mm, things in pop culture also. Um, uh, Japanese word kansei relates to mental activity or ability, especially to cognitive processes such as sensation, perception, cognition, emotion, and thinking. This is one of the first ideas. What is this kansei? Um, Kansei describes this activity of our inner world about how our eyes seeing something beautiful, seeing something that could inspire us, and then we have emotional, cognitive response by our feelings, by our mental activity. Uh, this is what can say, and of course, in our therapy during sessions. Kansei is a key thing, I think, because it influence on human ability of therapist and client to build this therapeutic connection between art object, art therapist and client, or between artists and their objects, or between artists and objects of other artists, or uh, another ways of arts between for example, painter and painter reading poetry and getting Kansei, feeling Kansei, he or she experiencing Kansei, and it's giving inspiration, new ideas to a painter, and this painter starting painting it. So painting or creating new art, and this is what can say, and I am sure you will understand the more and already know it. um, so uh, we could make such mutual research of our own understanding of Kansei, um, because during my managing the materials about Kansei, about papers about Kansei, I realized that uh, creative people, art people, and psychologists who were um, learning about Kansei more deeply, uh, they have ideas in common about Kansei, but have different from each other views about Kansei. Um, and Kansei encompasses aspects such as sensibility, sensitivity, feeling, creativity, imagination, inspiration, insight, and intuitive thinking. Um, and Kansei connected with impression or evaluation, and um, so uh, I realized that in our therapy, um, Kansei is aesthetic response that we're using for describing our reflection about art objects that we see of our art objects, or about other people art objects, how we're giving this response. Um, Kansei is also often considered to be not a single mental activity, but rather a synthesized concept or integrated activity from the interaction of multiple mental functions. Actually, perceivers not only perceive just an object, seen or event by various senses of organs, but also feel multiple impression or evaluation at the same time. I decided to read it for feel it more uh, deeply, getting this idea. And I also in different cultures can say people feeling this can say could feel or could understand this can say a little bit different from each other, because Uh, because Kansei depends on culture and society, and in which person were born or living, and accompanies individual and group differences. Uh, Kansei is usually said to be an integrated higher process of mental mechanisms. So in Japan, for example, Kansei related to fashion, sense, and artistic ability. So it's very interesting. What if to discover how Kansei uh, seen in other cultures? So we I'm making my research from the perspective from the perspective of Japanese culture, but Kansei could be more wider. And here is an information about how Kansei appeared, because um, Kansei, the word Kansei is a translation word. Uh, mm, Japanese philosopher who lived in the Meiji era, Amane Nishi, he translated sensibility in English as Kansei, and since that time, Kansei started exist. This word started to exist on papers. Uh, Kansei is also inspiration or intuitive judgment. This relation may be adaptable to the English word sense. Sense is also a word with multiple meanings, from the sense data or the five sense organs to the ability to understand or to judge something, as well as meaning of words. And this Kansei, if to look through the Western culture, means pathos, like emotion, sensitivity, or feeling that used in contrast to logos. For example, pathos, when we speak with pathos, it means that we getting the high peak of our attracting of attracting the audience to our words. When we speak about it, we encouraging people to make something, for example, to be inspired, and the pathos is very important. Also exist, I want to share it, a very interesting thing. It's a kind of stream of in industrial reality. Kansei engineering, that's also born in Japan, and Kansei engineers, they using such method of translating feelings and impressions into the product parameters. So Kansei engineering is researching about aesthetic response of people to the products, and for making products that will be attractive for people. And Kansei engineering, based on subjective estimations of product and concept properties, and discover associated emotions to the demands of the products. It translates users' impressions, feelings, and demands on existing products or concepts into design solutions and parameters that will fulfill the user's feeling requirement. So it's, as I said, it for making products being attractive to people. So Kansei engineering is very popular in design and in architecture. Also, it really becoming a science that discovery human feelings. Kansei created from kan, that means sensitivity, and sei, that means sensibility. Kansei is also mental functions to invent or to develop the product, impression of a product. In other languages, for example, in German languages, exist other words that describe similar cognitive activity, mental activity, and but in Japanese Kansei began into this Kansei engineering and started using in researches of psychologists about how people, about human impression to art, in aesthetic art researches, and Kansei is a very cultural concept. So Kansei depends on culture, and in every culture, Kansei could be a little bit different from, and every culture understand Kansei in their own way. From the field of psychology, Kansei is understood as cognitive process or ability. Um, for example, Japanese Psychological Association is making very often researches about Kansei, and they talking about it as about mental activity. And for Kansei engineers, it's also a result of mental activity, and they consider it as individual subjective impression from a certain artifact, environment, or situation using the senses, all the senses, or sight, hearing, feeling, smell, taste, as well as recognition. Uh, and I was using Kayo Miura researches about Kansei because she was working on Kansei, where she has a lot of books and researches about Kansei, and during a period of time she was giving different meaning about Kansei, and I want to read it, how she was describing Kansei from time to time. Sensitivity to the object or event as intuitive judgment to ambitious information as well as good sense. Evaluative ability, which is done unconsciously, intuitively, and with an information integrative manner. Kansei is also related to mental activity or creation and expression, quick and adaptive judgment, which is done based on impression and evaluation, perception with impression. This is how meaning of Kansei was developed through the perspective of this scientist. It's very interesting. It's also given us more understanding about Kansei, and how we could identify Kansei in art therapy also. The multiple usage of Kansei as both mental functions and the result leads to confusion around understanding this concept. However, this confusable characteristic is owed to the original characteristics with sensation and sensitivity have. Kansei is just how to perceive and feel various things. The basic human mental activity should be universal, as mentioned above. It's not only about one culture feeling and the perspective of one culture, how in this culture people feeling and making response on things. It's more common for every people, for all people on the earth, and it's our natural ability. And uh, Dr. Masuda research targets the intuitive judgment of the hardness or object through the perceived velocity and penetration. It's also interesting that she got ideas from her researches that Kansei not only um, affection and impression on things, is also on things that only visual, but Kansei is also from a response on things that we could feel, um, like velocity of penetration. And uh, it is also a suitable theme to show that Kansei or Kansei study covers not only evaluation of factors as impression, beauty, pleasantness, but also uh, perceptual impressions such as the feeling of speed, depth, extension, texture, and on. So on. So Kansei is more just visual understanding of, of response. It's also could be touched and experimented by body. And how Kansei we could see in art therapy. Aesthetic response that appears during art therapy or expressive art sessions is Kansei. Um, for expressing our reflections and feelings from viewing art objects creating during a session, we use words that helps us describe our thoughts, um, our emotions, and we could express it by making a pose, also by face expression, performance, making sounds or gests. And we could use all body, all our senses for expressing Kansei, for expressing this response. And also interesting thing that we could use in art therapy. Kansei engineers have a technique by demonstrating aesthetic response by Kansei words. And Kansei words can be adjective words or a short sentence that used to represent emotion impression towards a product, situation, or surrounding. So we could use this technique on our field and um, create on paper, writing it somewhere, or painting Kansei words and use with our clients or with ourselves, and feeling more deeply this response and understanding it more in more delicate way and more attentive way. So Kansei have so many mm, so many forms for uh, discovery it, for making researches. And please take this idea, and I hope it will help you. Here I want to end, and I will stay the materials that I was using about Kansei, where is more interesting examples of Kansei and more deep explanation maybe than mine. So please read it, and I hope it could be helpful. Thank you.